Howdy, folks. Just wanted to give you a heads up about this video you're going to be watching. This is something you need to study. You need to take notes, outline. If you're going to be a 1A auditor professional, if you will, then you need to be prepared. As a pilot, I have to have a checklist for the exterior of the aircraft, the interior of the aircraft. Or you need to arrive alive. And basically, you need to do the same thing in this 1A exercise of your rights. Because if you do things incorrectly, it's going to cost you money, which is your assets, could cost you your freedom, which is huge, and could ruin your life if you don't prepare and know exactly, precisely from A to Z what you're going to be doing. Mind build. I have a bodybuilding shirt on because I work out daily. I keep my body in physical condition, top physical condition, based on being a disabled vet. But this video you're going to watch is absolutely incredible. I've interrogated a boatload of people. I've got a lot of hours. Look at my bio in the At Flying Honor YouTube channel and sign up. But the video was prepared by This Is a Public Service and Rogue Nation. These two guys tag teamed the city mayor for Mount Dora, Florida. And I have to tell you, of all the years I've seen people do interrogations and just visiting with people, I have to tell you, these guys just knocked it out of the park. Just phenomenal. I applaud you both. It was well thought out, well executed, and timed. So take the time, learn how to do this as a business, as a profession. I've trained a lot of people, thousands and thousands on business. And if you take this 1A exercising of your rights seriously and you're using YouTube as your venue, or Vimeo or Rumble or whatever platforms you so choose, be prepared. Again, this is one of the tools in your tool bag, but you need to take it seriously. I've gone through a lot of channels and taken notes on a boatload of them, from attorneys to certain style auditors and what have you. You develop your own, you've got your own style, but I like what Rogue is doing. I like what Foshin is doing, which is, this is a public service, because you can tell it's at their heart. If you watch their videos, it's not about the clicks and all this. It's about truly effectuating change, and that's what's important. So kudos to these guys, and I look forward to meeting them down the road in the next week or two when I'm down in Florida. All right, God bless America, and remember, you got to be a 1A guy or gal. I'm a 2A guy as well. So if you're on board with that 2A deal, fantastic. All right, guys, we're out of here. You have a great one.
Come on
This
in.
is a public service.
How's it going?
Better than I deserve. How about yourself?
Same.
Decent. Are all these books that you have read, ma'am?
No, sir, not all of them.
Okay, I was just wondering.
I appreciate you taking the time.
Sure thing.
To meet with me.
Yeah. I'm gonna put this down.
And let me say, first off, what
Yeah.
a beautiful city you guys have here.
We do, I agree.
Me and my wife and kids, we love coming down to
Great.
downtown and walking around. And
Awesome.
It's a very nice city.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Thanks.
I've lived in the area most of my life, Central Florida.
Yeah.
I've just got a few questions.
Sure.
I think that you know why I came in both times. I think I was pretty upfront about things. So, do you believe that as the mayor, you have an obligation to be honest in your dealings with the people?
Oh, always.
What do you think the consequence should be if a city official is found to be dishonest with the people?
I mean, consequence is a tough one because you can't really fine somebody or, arrest somebody or something like that, but certainly held accountable publicly, absolutely.
What does that look like for you?
I suppose the media takes care of that for the most part.
So there's no inner accountability from the city if a city official is found to be dishonest?
Hard to say. I mean, I can't. There's nothing in the employee handbook, that details an exact kind of repercussion if there is some dishonesty. I imagine it's a case-by-case basis.
Okay. On December 13th, the day that I came into to your bookstore, you told me that you had just found out about the violation at the library.
Sure.
Was that true?
Yeah, sure, true.
When we met on November 1st, do you recall me making the claim that without proper First Amendment training at the police department, the city was opening itself up to potential civil litigation?
I don't disagree that you said that. I don't remember our exact conversation, but I don't disagree that you said that, sure.
Okay. Did you report the existence of this claim to the City of Mount Dora City Council?
I mentioned it to the police chief, and he mentioned that you had gone over there, so he was aware of it.
So we're talking about the November 1st.
Yeah, when you came in asking about the First Amendment.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, so you spoke to the chief?
He said that you were over at the police department questioning officers over there as well, so, bases were covered.
Okay. Are you familiar with Article 4, Section 18 of the City Charter?
Not by number.
It's the powers and duties of the mayor.
Oh, sure.
Are you aware of that?
Sure.
Section 18, subsection H of the Mount Dora Charter states the mayor or the mayor's designee shall report to the City Council the existence and basis of any legal claim against the City of Mount Dora. You aware of this?
I've read it, but yeah, okay.
So you are aware of it?
Yes, sir.
Did you make the City Council aware of the legal claim that I made you aware of, specifically that without proper First Amendment training that the city was opening itself up to potential civil litigation?
I did not report it to City Council.
Can you tell me what happened at the library on December 12th?
I wasn't there.
That is true. But you have been made aware since then, correct?
A little bit here and there. I mean, I'm not involved in the everyday ongoings of the city. That's the city manager's job, and the police chief handles the police department. So they're far more aware of exactly what happened there. I wasn't there.
Okay. Do you know if the trespass against Jeff Gray is still in force?
I couldn't say. Honestly, couldn't say.
Can you tell me why it was issued?
I couldn't say. I heard he was on library property and asking for money was what I heard.
Is that illegal?
It is. Panhandling.
Panhandling is illegal?
Actually, it's not. The U.S. Supreme Court has already decided that asking for money is a part of protected speech.
Oh, okay.
So panhandling is not illegal.
Are you familiar with Florida Statute 100.361 on municipal recall?
No, sir.
Are you aware that neglect of duty is grounds for recall?
Did not know that.
Are you familiar with Florida Statute 112.311 on legislative intent and declaration of policy?
No, sir.
Pay attention what the mayor does or what she doesn't do, basically. Look at her facial expressions. Foshin has thought this out very thoroughly. He's stripping down the person and exposing the massive issues that this mayor has with lack of accountability and, frankly, an ineptness of her position. Well done, Foshin.
Subsection 6 states, it is declared to be the policy of the state that public officers and employees, state and local, are agents of the people and hold their positions for the benefit of the public. They are bound to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the state constitution and to perform efficiently and faithfully their duties under the laws of the federal, state, and local governments. Such officers and employees are bound to observe in their official acts the highest standards of ethics consistent with this code, and the advisory opinions rendered with the respect here to regardless of personal considerations, recognizing that promoting the public interest and maintaining the respect of the people and their government must be of foremost concern. Does that sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me the 5 freedoms protected by the First Amendment?
Assembly, freedom of speech. I'm drawing a blank on the others. Religion.
Do you remember our meeting on November 1st?
I do.
Did you remember me saying that I was going to come back and ask this question?
I do.
Did you look into it at all between then and now?
I did.
Okay, so you just forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me why the Deputy Police Chief Fulis was fired for speaking with the press, and another high-ranking official within the same time frame did the same thing as now interim police chief?
I didn't serve on city council then.
You served from 2018 to
2020?
2020?
Mhm.
Okay. Can you tell me the total proposed budget for all city funds combined is a little over 134, well, it's almost $135 million.
Mhm.
This represents more than a $32 million or a 31% increase from last year's budget, which was over 102 million. Can you tell me what the possible justification for such an increase is?
Projects that were not completed last year, so they've continued on to this budget. So there's money budgeted last year that we've added to this year's budget to continue with those projects that weren't completed last year.
Okay, so you only spent 70 of the 100 million last year?
Correct.
Okay.
That's true.
I'd have to sit down and look at the budget book. We're kind of out of budget season, so.
That's $30 million.
Mhm.
A million.
Mhm.
Is that unimportant?
Oh no, it's certainly important. Every dollar is important. Absolutely.
But you don't know.
You caught me out of budget zone right now. We were meeting about civil rights, I thought, so.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, all of this applies.
Yeah, sure.
Can you tell me why the library director was given a $25,000 raise this year?
Again, it's operations. I have no idea.
Okay. Are you aware that the city public information officer's social media account says Kanye attitude with Drake feelings?
No idea.
Do you think that would be before, pre, or post Kanye's anti-Semitic racist rants?
I haven't even seen Kanye's anti-Semitic racist rants.
But that doesn't mean they don't exist, correct?
Correct.
Do you believe that members of the council, including the mayor, should recuse themselves from voting on anything that could be construed as being advantageous to their personal and business endeavors?
That is true, that if anything allows you a financial gain, you are to recuse yourself.
How would you rate the city manager's performance in the first 14 months on the job?
I think he does a fantastic job.
Are you aware of the council work session on August 18th, 2021?
If there was one scheduled that day, I'm sure I was there.
It was a pay clarification study that was presented by the Archer Company, showing that Mount Dora was the third largest budget, only behind Deltona and Sanford. Yet Mount Dora had the lowest population of these 10 municipalities in the study. Are you aware of that?
No.
You stated in a previous interview that you ran for mayor because you love Mount Dora. You ran unsuccessfully for the Florida House in 2020. Are you using the platform as mayor to advance your own political aspirations?
No.
My last question, Mayor, isn't it true that you sent an email to the city manager, Cheminsky, at 7:20 in the morning on December 13th, nearly 6 hours before I spoke to you?
I couldn't say that for sure. I'd have to look at my email.
What do you think the consequence for people not being honest with the public should be?
That was your first question, right?
Yeah, it's still a question.
A case-by-case basis.
Okay. Case-by-case basis. So, if you were lying to me right now in this interview, what do you think, as the mayor, what do you think the consequence should be?
I know that I'm not lying to you, so
That
that's
wasn't-
something I wouldn't even think about.
That wasn't the question.
It's hypotheticals. I'm not lying to you. I don't lie.
Interesting. Major?
I've only got maybe one or two questions, and they deal with the Jeff Gray incident.
Mhm.
He's requested some body cam footage from the city of the incident. He has been notified that it's going to cost him $400 for 8-hour-long body cam footage. Now, we know this is ridiculous because we pull body cam footage all over the state
Mm-hmm.
daily. And what the city clerk, I believe it was the city clerk, has said is that they have to redact the video frame by frame, which is ridiculous. Again, there shouldn't be, from what I could see of the incident that was recorded, there was no personal information to redact in the first place. None of the people that are in public need their faces blurred, you know, because they're in public. There's no expectation of privacy. So is there any way that we can get the city clerk to follow the Florida Public Records law? Or do we have to sue to make them do that as well?
Oh, I'm sure she's following it. I don't know what it takes to redact a video. I'm not, that's her job. I can inquire for you, sure.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I would love to know
Certainly.
about that. I'll maybe email you about it. But again, I mean, we work with municipalities
I'm sure you do, yeah.
all over the state
Sure.
to get body cam footage, and we know it's not a frame-by-frame redaction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for an hour, basically what you have to do is watch the video. So that's an hour.
Right.
Right? And if you hear somebody's name and social security number, okay, I got to redact that.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes sense.
You don't have to like play pause, play pause,
Right.
play pause. You don't have to do that.
Right.
So, I mean, if she doesn't have the editing software needed, I'd feel that in a $130 million budget, we can allot her $20, because that's what my editing software costs. $20 to get
Okay.
editing
I'll inquire for you.
software.
I don't know.
Because what that does is that presents a barrier for citizens to get public records.
Mm-hmm.
How many people have $400 sitting around,
Right.
you know, for an hour-long body cam footage? Now, I think it's an important incident, but maybe people in the city, maybe you don't think it's an important incident, you know, that's fine. But what happens if a mother's requesting body cam footage of a police officer who smacked her kid? You know, she doesn't have $400 to spend on that hour-long body cam footage. And the Public Records Act, thank God, Florida has the best one in the country. It's to get this information into the hands of the citizens, because it's all our information, right? We pay for the body cam, we pay for the salaries of all this stuff. We pay for all this stuff, right? So it's ours. So we need to be able to get it in a timely and cost-effective manner, really. Sure. I'd also be interested to know is she doing this on her city clerk time? You see, is she getting paid twice for working the same amount of hours? You know what I mean? Like, it's totally acceptable if you do your mayor work and get paid for your mayor work, and then at the end of your mayor day, you redact some footage, and then you get paid more, right?
Right.
But to intermingle your mayor work with the body cam work and get paid twice is not acceptable. So I would be interested in finding out who's doing the redaction. Is it on city time, or is it on overtime, you know, that they're getting paid for through the record request, and not getting paid overtime and the record request.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Right. So that's important for us to know as well, because we don't want that happening, right? We don't want double dipping, double pay going out, especially if I'm already paying her to be the city clerk and she's doing it on her city clerk time.
Right.
Why are you asking for more money? You know, that doesn't make any sense. So that's basically all I had this morning.
Just so I can clarify with the clerk, did the request come from Jeff Gray himself?
I believe.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the name he used.
Because I'm sure she has quite a few.
Right. I don't know the name he used, but it's about the library incident.
Okay.
I know there's not a lot of people that have requested that.
Yeah, that it's been $400, right? Okay, I'll ask her.
Exactly. So it should be easy for her to find library incident $400 invoice.
Sure.
And then I believe the city manager isn't open to be interviewed. Do you know about that?
He's out today, I know that.
Right, but I believe he said that he couldn't be interviewed.
Yeah, I was told that he cannot interview. I can't remember what the word is now. That it was
broadcasting.
Yeah, that it was there was a broadcast statute within the city charter, and somehow an interview. A taped interview is somehow violating that broadcast statute. So
yeah, I think you could email him questions.
So you directed me to talk to the city manager, and obviously I'd like to have that conversation on the record because it's my right to do so.
Sure.
So
I think via email would be fine, but according to our city charter, the mayor is the spokesperson for the city, so all recorded interviews would have to be with me, unless I designate someone else to do it. Like sometimes
Right.
I do
Well,
the public
the reason
information
we
officer.
ask because it's important. Like for example, when he asked how the librarian got a $25,000 raise, and you said that was operations.
It is, yeah.
Okay, so we would like to go to operations.
Sure.
And ask that.
And I think sending an email, you'll get a response to that.
Sending an email.
Sure,
to
and that's a public
operations?
record. No, to the city manager,
To the city
to Mr.
manager.
Komisky, yeah, sure.
Okay.
I mean, if he ignores your email, then we have a real problem. But like I said, for a recorded interview, according to our city charter, the mayor is the spokesperson for the city, so that's why I do all the recorded interviews.
So what can you tell me about the incident? You know, when we spoke on the 13th, I said, can we have this interview to talk about this incident? And at the beginning of my question, I asked you about the incident, and you told me you didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, well, you specified you wanted to talk specifically about civil rights in the city of Mount Dora, not specifically that case.
Right. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
Continue.
so do you think that freedom of speech is important on public property?
Everywhere.
Okay. So I guess my disconnect is, did you watch the body cam?
I did not.
Didn't watch the body cam. I'm not sure where to go. Well, why? Why? You're the spokesman for the city.
Mm-hmm.
There's a civil rights violation within the city,
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't find it interesting enough, even after I came there to tell you to look into the incident specifically. You didn't think it was worthy of looking into.
Not necessarily that I didn't think it was worthy. Sorry, let me turn this off. No, not that I didn't think it was worthy. I guess we've never been served a civil rights violation as since I've been mayor. So I guess I was waiting for something to come in writing
So
that we
you-
could physically
you-
address.
So you'd like to see litigation and not conversations. You want the people of Mount Dora to pay rather than a conversation be had that could potentially stop these incidents from happening.
I mean,
You would prefer litigation,
no, not my preference at all. That's why I'm sitting here having a conversation with you.
right? But you didn't look at this. You didn't look at the incident at all.
I haven't seen that there has been no violation, according to our police department, of Officer Vachon, of what he did, how he handled it. I haven't heard anything. Nothing's come before city council.
Interesting. Okay.
Hmm.
Do you think that the police are knowledgeable on civil rights and when violations occur?
I would hope so.
I hate to say it, you're a very nice lady, but you're sadly mistaken. Most officers if you were to go down to the Mount Dora Police Department
Mm-hmm.
and question every officer you have, what's the number for the ID statute? 99% of them couldn't tell you the number for the ID statute. And let me tell you why that's troubling. Let's say you're a carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
You'd expect a carpenter to know what a hammer is, right?
Sure,
You'd expect a bartender to know what a rum and coke is, right?
sure.
These are things they use every single day in their line of work, right? The ID law is the most used law by law enforcement officers. They ID everybody they come into contact with. 99% of them can't quote the statute. It's very troubling because what happens is like in this library incident, when he trespassed Jeff Gray, and Jeff Gray was walking out, which is what the law is. When someone says you're trespassed, you have to give them a time to leave,
Okay,
right? Before you arrest them for trespassing.
sure. Was he arrested?
I believe he was put in cuffs,
Yes.
I believe, because he failed to ID. And see, here's where the violation comes in at and why knowing the law is important for the officers. There's a case called State versus Jesuits. It happened down in Tampa. I won't get into the details of it, but basically what they found is that police officers cannot detain you or hold you to get an ID for a trespassing warning, because a trespassing warning is civil, right? you're trespass, get off my property. That's all that needs to be done. You're not supposed to ID them, you're not supposed to detain them until they give you an ID, and you're definitely not supposed to arrest them for not giving you an ID for a trespassing warning, right? And this case law's been case law for years now. So there's no reason that this officer shouldn't have known that. This has put Mount Dora in a position of civil liability, and Jeff Gray does sue, okay? And it may take a while. There's a 4-year limit on civil rights violations here in Florida to be filed, but you know, just basic knowledge like this can help a city like Mount Dora out. Like I said, I love Mount Dora. My family and me, we come here all the time, but it's troubling because now we're taking money from the taxpayers. We're taking money from the city coffers that could be used for projects or editing programs or library increases. We're taking that money and we're giving it to a gentleman who should never have gotten it, because people should know their jobs, right? And what the lines are that can't be crossed. And that's why at the city council meeting I was there, there was a gentleman there before me that was talking about training, and I told you guys when I got up there, training's free. I brought training right here. It's 11 pages long. I'll let you guys copy it before I leave. This comes from the federal government. It comes from the U.S. Department of Justice, Civil Rights Division, the Special Litigation Section. These are the top dogs of civil rights violations for the federal government, right? And they tell you in this letter, it's a what they call a guidance letter. It's about an incident that happened in Baltimore. It's Sharp v. Baltimore, and they're going through it and they're telling the Baltimore Police Department about public photography, about civil rights, getting supervisors, not taking people's cameras because that's a First Amendment violation, such as that. If these 11 pages made it to the Mount Dora Police Department, you're gonna avoid 99% of any litigation, because like I said, citizens are tired. We're tired of listening to the news BS us. We know all about how the news has exclusive interviews to show the city and the police department in a good light. We know people that work in media, you know, so we understand how it works. And the citizens are tired. We want real answers, you know. We want eyes on contracts. We want eyes on our employees, making sure that they're treating people nice. I don't know if you've ever done this, but if you go to Google, like Google Maps, you pick any city you want, and you go to their public buildings, they have some of the worst ratings and reviews ever. I mean, city employees, and that's not saying Mount Dora specifically. I've never had people in Mount Dora treat me wrong, but they treat people like crap. And the thing is that these people can't go nowhere else, you know. City Hall's not like McDonald's. You can't just go down the road to Burger King, right? If you got to pay city utilities, and there's a lady in there that acts nasty to you every time you come, and she can't get fired, because it's hard to get people fired that work for the city and the state and everything, because they've got immunity, and sometimes their bosses don't care, and you know, whatever have you not. But I expect, and we all should expect, because we got to remember, once we're out of public service, we're just citizens again. So let me give you a good example of that. A fire marshal worked for a city for 30 years. Okay, it's Alabama. He retired. Well, the city got into some budgeting problems, right? As they do. And what they decided to do was cut this guy's pension. Okay? He ended up freezing to death in his apartment because he couldn't afford heat. Okay? After he gave 30 years to the city, you know, because when you're gone, you know, and 30 years down the road and you're in retirement and the city's looking at the budget, do you think they're going to care more about their pet projects or people they don't even know that worked there 20 years ago's retirement? It's an easy choice what's going to get cut, right? Should I give $25,000 raise to my buddy the librarian, or should I continue to pay a pension on this person no one here even knows, right? So once we leave public service, we become citizens again. So it behooves us
Right.
to make sure that there's a standard, a way of handling stuff. You know, you wouldn't expect to be treated crappy when you go to Outback. Why should you be treated crappy when you go pay your utility bill?
Sure.
You know, so that's part of the reason that we're out here. You know, and we just want to make people aware of that and make sure, you know, people are following along what they should be doing. Now, like I've said, I've been to Mount Dora a couple of times. I've always been treated pretty nice. I was at the Mount Dora Police Department 4 years ago. I was outside their back gate, and they gave me a little bit of guff, but they didn't violate my rights, so that's good. You know, and I pretty much left Mount Dora alone. You know, I live here in Central Florida, and I've got over 1,300 videos in 15 states. I've done every public building you can imagine in the state of Florida. Prisons, juveniles, probation, city halls, councils. I've done it all here. I've been doing it for 4 years. I've got 3 lawsuits going right now in Alabama because they violated my rights up there. I've had like 4 or 5 lawsuits down here in Florida because they violated my rights down here. So it does happen. Litigation does happen. Not a lot. You know, sometimes people, oh, I'm going to sue you. They're just talking gas.
Right.
But when you see somebody that's paid thousands of dollars for their equipment, they come with the law in their hand. I mean, as Sherlock Holmes would say, 'tis a clue. You know? And unfortunately, people might say in the city, we're testing them. We're baiting them, they've even say. You know what I mean? We're looking for a reaction. And I told my wife the other night, I said, I am looking for a reaction. And the reaction I'm looking for is for people to obey my rights, for people to be nice, to people act how they want to be treated. That's exactly the reaction I'm looking for, you know? And as far as baiting goes, I mean, we're allowed to test our officials, you know? We're allowed to make sure that they're following their rules and following the Constitution, most importantly of all. So that's what we do, and that's what we're going to keep going to do, and it's never going to go away. You know, we've been apathetic for too long, the American public. And as the founders of our great nation put in a letter to the inhabitants of Quebec in 1774, they wrote to them explaining the beauty of our rights. And what they said was about the right to free press, it is the right to shame the public official into doing what is noble, right? Because even back then there was a lot of corruption, right? So, and everybody that works for the public dollar, that gets paid public money, is a public official. They don't have to be elected. They could be appointed. You know, it'd be silly to imagine that the only people we could keep track of were the people that are elected. 99% of the government isn't elected.
Right.
So it would not make any sense for transparency to only be able to record you and one other person in this building of 500 people. I'm just saying that as a number. I don't know. But you see what I'm saying?
Sure.
So, you know, we're going to go around and we'll be around much more often and talking with people and trying to get a feel for what's going on. But I hope this is the last time that there's an incident in Mount Dora, because like, I have lots of work that's out of state, and I don't, this is my backyard. I'm sure it's this young man's backyard as well. And we like to make sure, and we have to make sure, you know, I can't be driving to Mississippi to handle issues out there if people are saying, hey, I go by Rogue Nation, hey, Rogue Nation, people in your backyard are corrupt and are violating people's civil rights and stuff. Why are you going out to Mississippi? You know? So then I'm like, oh, well, I guess I got to spend more time here in Mount Dora, which, again, I love Mount Dora, but I don't want to have to come here and question people and find out why they're doing something wrong, why the numbers ain't adding up, why they're charging so much money for a public record request. I don't want to have to do that, but we will, and again, we will keep doing that. I'll allow you, if you have a copier, to copy this and forward it to the police department. Sure. And this is 12 years old. This is information. You can even record this. This is from the International Association of Chiefs of Police. So these aren't idiotic people
Sure.
putting out memos saying, oh yeah, these are people in authority above us, above Mount Dora, above the state of Florida,
Federal, yeah.
that are saying this is what needs to be done. So I'll let you copy that and
Great,
pass
thanks.
that along.
Okay.
And again, this saves Mount Dora money. If every police officer over there took 20 minutes to read that, you're going to eliminate 99% of any litigation.
Okay.
Because like I said, we're coming back. We'll be around. Best that they know now what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Okay, let me go ask Sarah
Yeah.
to copy it real quick.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Okay. Copy made.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I don't cost the city money. I want to
Yeah,
save
sure.
the city money because I have friends that live in Mount Dora. I don't want their property taxes to rise because I'm getting arrested out there recording, which
Sure.
I'm allowed to do. So I'm done with my questions and,
Okay.
and my thing. So
Yeah, I mean, do you have anything to say about that event? I mean, that is the reason that I'm here. It seems I'm almost shocked into silence that you don't have anything to say about the issue that we came here to discuss. I guess I'm just could you just help me understand why you're not aware of this issue front and back.
I mean, I'm aware that it occurred, but I haven't watched the videos and looked into body cam footage and all that. It's not that it's not important to me, it's just, it happened. I don't think there's anything for city council to address. We haven't been presented with anything, so I haven't taken the time to look into it. As you can imagine, there's a million other things, going on at the same time, so
But I'm sure
we
now-
handle them as they're presented to us.
But I'm sure now as we've come in and discussed it, I'm sure now you'll look into it and see, because you'll want to know, what kind of behavior's not appropriate, right?
Sure.
You'll want to see exactly what
Sure,
transpired.
I'll pull I wasn't aware that he was arrested, so I'll pull the arrest record too.
Absolutely.
I didn't think he was arrested.
Well, what happened was he was put in cuffs and moved and put into the back of the car, and I do believe he was let go.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't think there was an actual arrest.
Well, no, that's in law. When you're restricted, your freedom is restricted, and what the court says is you concede to their authority, which means that if I'm standing here and he puts me in cuffs and he moves me outside your door, he could release me from cuffs outside your door and let me go. But the mere fact of my freedom being restricted and him moving me is an arrest according to law. So there will be a lawsuit for an unlawful arrest coming down the line there. An arrest doesn't mean I go to jail and I go see a judge for specifically. And the courts have also said that detainment, just being detained, if I'm walking down the street and the cop says, hey, you're detained, what are you doing here? You can't leave. That is an arrest. It's just an arrest of a shorter duration, right? Because again, you're arresting someone's movement. You're blocking their freedom of moving, of going. You know what I mean? So the only time somebody can detain, an officer can detain an individual is when they have what's called reasonable articulable suspicion of criminal activity.
Okay.
Right? It can't be a hunch. I got a call. Somebody meets your description. You know what I mean? Those are hunches. But